Yeah, there it is. Welcome to the Reset Talk Show for the Working Class. I am your host, Mr. Andre Clay. And on today's show, keeping up with the candidates, today we interview with 6th Ward candidate for Alderman, Miss Nicole Mullins. Today's show will be a special call in show. That number will be 708 414 0849. Again, that's 708 414 0849. Again, today's show, keeping up with the candidates, special interview with 6th Ward candidate for Alderman in Aurora, Illinois, Miss Nicole Mullins. And with that, let's bring our guest on. How you doing, Nicole?
Hey, Andre, thanks for having me.
All right, all right. So you are running for 6th Ward Alderman in Aurora. That's what's up.
I am.
That's what's up. That's what's up. For everyone that's tuning in, if you are familiar with the show, you recognize Nicole. She's been a guest on the show quite a few times. Very strong advocate and active community activist in Aurora, Illinois. And today we have her on because I am so proud of her for taking the step to run for political office. So, with that being said, Miss Mullins, why don't you kind of introduce yourself to everyone? Who is Nicole Mullins? Why is she running? And tell us all about yourself, my dear.
Well, so I was born and raised in Aurora, on the east side of Aurora. Um, and I moved to Florida for about 10 years, got my bachelor's degree in social work. And while I was pursuing my bachelor's in social work, one of our projects was to do a gap analysis of a community to create a service, an agency, something that would meet the need of that community. And so I chose to do my gap analysis on Aurora, since that's where I was from and that's where my heart is. And, I saw that at the time the youth services department was getting cut. A lot of funding. There were other services that were at risk of being lost. The arts were at risk of being cut back in schools due to funding. And so I created this imaginary agency called Lift Aurora. And so the longer I thought about it, the more I worked on it, I thought, why is this just an imaginary agency? Why don't I do this for real? And so I did, and it brought me back to Illinois in about 2012. I was traveling back and forth every other week just about to get things going. We opened Culture Stock, and so that was kind of what led me back home, is my interest in giving back to the community, creating opportunities, especially on the east side. And I know it's the case for a lot on the west side also. Families have limited incomes. They don't have the ability to just send their kids to dance classes, art classes, singing classes, and all of these things. And so Culture Stock was created to provide non monetized access to arts opportunities. And so, um, in doing that, we were in a city owned building for a period of time. There were some issues with that, really opened my eyes to how the city and our local government have the ability to really disenfranchise groups of
Right.
people.
Yeah.
I mean, I knew that existed, but I was experiencing it.
Mm-hmm.
Long story short, the city owned building that we were occupying for 5, 6 years ended up having toxic mold. We brought it to the city's attention. They immediately started treating us like a liability. They painted over all the water damage. They lied and said they did an air quality test and it came back that there was no mold. We had to do our own air quality test to know what to do with our belongings. If it's safe, is it safe to have people in the space? They ended up terminating our lease. And so that really kind of made me realize how our city can fail us, and how our city and our elected officials can fail those with the least amount of resources with no recourse. I mean,
Right.
there's no consequences.
Yeah.
So I started realizing that they were doing this to other groups of people, not exactly the mold situation, but just not listening to the community, changing a narrative because they have such a broad platform to get away with it. With the Change Reform Initiative. First, they created it saying, oh, we're trying to have equity in the community with policing. Then they changed it to change is just just a word. It's just an acronym. The police don't really need to change anything. We saw it with the Circle K residents, who thankfully they were victorious in making city council listen to them, but it was not without a fight and not
Yeah.
without a lot of discrediting. The residents in the 6th ward with the Carson's building being converted into, rezoned to become something else that the community does not want. So time and time again, we see community groups, individuals, organizations ignored, while our city continues to listen to that of people with money, people that are developers, and then they're creating an Aurora for people that don't even live here. So that's why I decided, I'm part of the Aurora Grassroots Alliance.
Right.
We are constantly bringing up things like this and advocating for the community. We've been constantly saying we need people in city council to represent the people, and so I just thought, I can't keep talking about how we need people in these seats of power to represent the people and not run myself. So that's
Right.
what led me to want to run for office. I don't consider myself a politician. I consider myself a concerned community member that wants to make sure that we have a seat at the table, that we're being heard, that we have more than our obligatory 3 minutes of public comment at the start of city council meetings that
Right.
we can then be dismissed and discredited. We deserve to have a seat at that table. We deserve to have our voice heard and listened to and considered. And so that's why I decided to run.
Beautiful. Beautiful. That's what's up. That's what's up. Okay. Well, given the genesis of your advocacy, of your community service work, you live in the 6th ward of Aurora. Where specifically is the 6th ward? What are the
So the
boundaries?
6th ward is on the near west side. They just changed the boundaries, so it's slightly different than it was, say, 6 months ago. But
Okay.
for the most part, it's on the near west side of Aurora. It's like along Lake Street and to the west of that, from about Galena going up to Black Hawk Park,
Okay.
where the old Aurora Christian used to be before it got torn down, and then extending north pretty much to the end of the city.
Okay.
So that's the west, or that's the 6th ward.
Okay. Okay. So, given this is where you live and this is the ward you're running for, what issues within the ward did you see that you needed to address and really motivated you to run for alderman of that ward? What are some of the things within that ward that made you decide to run for office?
So honestly, prior to, I would say, the Carson's issue over in Northgate Plaza, I really was, I don't want to say oblivious to a lot of the concerns of that neighborhood, because my community work was so much broader that
Right.
extended throughout Aurora.
Right.
But one thing I did notice when I was living on when I moved to the west side, was a lot of police patrolling, especially in my neighborhood. A lot of cars constantly getting pulled over on the like View Street area.
Right.
Um, Northgate Plaza, I mean, that's an eyesore that I think everybody can agree with.
Yes.
That's just been going downhill. I
Yeah.
mean,
For years,
I,
boy.
I remember when that Northgate Plaza sign would light up, and it was just awesome. It was a cool thing to see. There were shops in there that community members used, and so that's really gone downhill. Obviously, there's other shopping areas that just leave a lot to be desired while the city is building up other parts of the community. Lake Street seems to continue to get kind of dismissed
Right.
while they
Right.
focus their efforts on other things. And so I did a survey because that's one thing that was important to me when I decided to run. My biggest gripe with our community leaders now is that they don't actually listen to the people. So I
Right.
didn't want to just say I'm running for alderman and I'm going to decide what the problems were
Sure.
based on what I see with my own eyes.
Hmm.
So the very first thing I did was create a survey, which if anybody's watching this and they live in the 6th Ward and they want to contribute to that, you can go to my social media page, which is facebook.com/Nicole or Mullins for Aurora, and 4 is spelled out FOR, and it's pinned to the top because I wanted to hear what the community thought. And
Right.
I've gotten a lot of great feedback about not just what they see wrong with the ward, but what do they see that's going well with the ward. I asked if they feel like city council is listening to them and taking their opinions and views and needs into consideration. 0% said yes.
Wow.
And I think that's very telling.
Wow.
So some other things that people listed, the biggest complaint has been Lake Street. Some complaints are about, cars really barreling through small neighborhoods, and that there needs to be stop signs or speed humps. And we see speed humps in neighborhoods like in the more affluent west side, farther west side.
Yeah.
Why can't we do things like that in the near west side?
Right.
So I'm continuing to take feedback so that I could know what exactly people are having issues with, what they feel like their representatives need to address, so that we can, it's a starting point. And if I don't win, which I hope that's not the case, but really this survey is a tool for us to be able to continue to advocate for our needs, um, despite the constant dismissal of our city council. There's still ways for us to pursue some of these things that are within our capacity, but I do think it's important that people who care about the community, who want to advocate for the community, run for these city council seats.
Okay. Okay. So, who is the current incumbent alderman for the 6th Ward, and who are some of the other candidates they may be vying for this position?
So the 6th Ward is the only ward that has so many candidates that have submitted their paperwork that it may push for a primary,
Okay.
to,
Okay.
to narrow it down to 2 people to move forward to the election in April. So
Okay.
Michael Sabille is the incumbent. He's been in office since 1985.
Wow.
Um, yeah. And then people that are also running for the 6th Ward include 2 individuals who ran the last election against Seville, and that's Matthew Orr and Matt Harrington. And then there's also been a new addition onto the, if he makes it to the ballot, which is Benjamin Markham. Benjamin Markham is he works for Keith Wheeler, who's a Republican state representative,
Okay.
and he's also been a big supporter of Irvin's governor bid. So that was an
Mayor
interesting
Irvin.
last minute. Mayor Irvin, yeah. So that was
Hmm.
an interesting last minute addition to the possible
Yeah.
candidates. So
Yeah.
so there will be 5 of us. People have until Monday, so tomorrow at 5 p.m. to contest candidates' filings. And if somebody gets, you know, objected to, their paperwork gets objected to, and if they uphold that objection and they aren't added to the ballot, we will not have a primary. But if all 5 of us stay on, we will have a primary. February 28th will be the
Okay.
election for that. So that will narrow the 5 of us down to 2.
Wow. 5 candidates. Okay, okay. Now I'm gonna tell you, I'm a big
Yeah.
fan of citizens having a wide choice of candidates to choose from because the narrower the number, the less confident I feel that real things will get done, or that people are
I
actually being
agree.
listened to. You know what I mean? But let me ask you
Yeah.
this: given the five, given the 5 of you running for this position, why should the citizens of the 6th Ward consider Nicole above everyone else that's running?
So there's a few things. So first of all, I am a social worker. So just by nature of my how I am, my educational background, the very nature of what I feel inclined to do is to listen to the community, listen to individuals, and try to figure out what is fair and equitable for people. And so that is not happening right now at City Council. Most of the City Council members are in banking, in law, in economic development, and
Sure.
all of these
Yeah.
different things. And there isn't anyone who is focused on community development over economic development. So to me, that is a strength of mine. There are community activists in the group of people that are also running,
Okay.
but I feel like I'm a stronger candidate because I am not out there taking pictures all the time, trying
Mm.
to draw attention to myself for
Mm.
personal gain. I realized that the hard way when I was trying to work on my website, and I'm looking for pictures of all the stuff I've done over the last 10 years of being home. And I'm like, what the heck? I'm literally volunteering all the time and I have no pictures of myself.
Yeah.
Um, or I'm like running around in the background in a completely unflattering picture of me running around doing stuff. So I think that our community needs more people who are interested in doing the work and focused on the work and not focused on photo ops or marketing. Now, don't get me wrong. I also look at that as a weakness of mine because unfortunately people, are emotional based. It's
Yes.
visual for them.
That's true.
So if they don't see pictures of me, somebody can be like, oh, she never does anything.
Right.
And
Right.
it kind of looks that way.
Right.
so
Right.
so I do think that those are my strengths. Also, I feel like we need more female representation on city council. I don't think that's the only reason people should consider me, but I do think that it's important.
Sure.
um I think that I come up with creative solutions to things to try and not necessarily to make everybody happy, but to make people see a compromise. I'm not like a very hardcore, it's either or,
Right.
you're either on this side of
Right.
this issue or you're on that side of the issue. And I think our politics in general, but also in Aurora, it it's these narratives are created where it's like a hard this way or this way on every single issue. and
Sure.
and I don't think that it should be the case. I mean, I think that there's a lot we have a lot more in common, and I think we have a lot more common ground than we realize because we are pigeonholed into these sides that exist.
Yep.
um and so that I've been very intentional of who I've aligned myself with for my campaign, who I've accepted help from, who I've sought advice from, because I refuse to take a side. It's not that I won't take a side. Don't get me wrong. I'm definitely not a wishy-washy person
Sure.
that panders to people. I will state my opinion, but my goal is not on creating these divisive sides. It's on trying to hear all sides and then come up with a fair, equitable outcome. You know, that's my focus. And I do see some of the people that are running are very just like cutthroat, and not just
Mm.
for the sixth ward election, for all of them. Like, they're very cutthroat. And even with city council, when you disagree with them on something, like, they're ready to like write you off as like this horrible person, or that you're ignorant,
Oh
or
yeah.
that you're
Oh yeah.
naive
Oh
or
sure.
dumb.
Oh yeah. Yeah, that's
So
politics. Yeah, it's dirty. It's a dirty sport. it's a it's a
I know.
dirty
That's why I'm
sport,
like,
boy.
I am doomed, because I am not about that life. Like, I'm not trying to do any of that. So yeah, it could hurt me, or what I'm hoping is that other people are also tired of that style of government, and they will say, you know what, we're making a choice not to participate in that, because it is a choice. I mean, and it's a difficult choice to make. And sometimes you feel when you're making that choice, you are helping the other side,
Right, right.
because you're not taking a side. You're being forced to make a choice that you wouldn't really make if you really had a choice. And I don't
Absolutely.
like that.
Absolutely. Yeah, that binary choice, it is on the local, the state, and the federal level, and in truth be told, most voters are in the middle. We're not at the extremes of either side, and so I think it's very, very, very wise of you to focus on the citizens and listening to what their concerns and demands are, because that's where we lie. The real people, we're in the middle of things, and we we want good policy. We want results, and so I think it's very smart for you to do that. Given the role of the alderman, if you could explain to the public what role does the alderman have when it comes to local government there in Aurora, Illinois?
So that's a good question, because when I was listening to some of the debates from the last time, some of the questions that I would hear people ask aldermen to give answers on, I'm like, why are you even asking that? That is beyond the power and
Right,
control of an alderman.
right.
So, like, who cares what their answer is for that? So the role of an alderman, so it's kind of like they wear two hats. On one hand, they play a part in the city as a whole and decisions that are made for the entire city. The mayor's office and the city staff kind of do the legwork behind coming up with projects and initiatives and things like that. And then it's brought to city council for a vote to approve. We're talking about every single thing that's in the budget. The aldermen vote on how much money should be allocated to this or that. The staff creates the draft of the budget, but it's
Okay,
ultimately up to the alderman to say, okay, yeah, we're okay with this, or no, we're not okay with this. The
okay,
alderman can say, no, there's not enough being put in towards youth services or senior services. Let's put more money into that. Um, uh-oh. Did we lose me, or did we lose Andre? Should I keep talking? Should I sing a song? I'll keep talking in case he hops in. Anyway, so it's not up to the aldermen to create the budget, but they can influence how the budget ends up. Things like development projects and money that we're going to give out to people, like the casino deal. The aldermen don't come up with that. Can you hear me? Oh no, I can't hear you. No. I just kept talking.
there we
I
go. I'm
saw a
glad
little
you
red.
did. I'm
Oh,
glad you did. It's all right. Yeah, I'm having little issues with this new camera I was having. So if it blanks out on you, just keep talking. I'll get it back
okay,
going.
I'm like, I'm just gonna keep going. It looks like I'm still live. I don't
Yes,
know what
yes.
he's doing.
Yeah, yeah. You're all good.
I'll interview myself. No.
All right. Go right ahead, partner.
So when projects come through, like the casino development, or the relocation, or the the old cosmopolitan that became HelloFresh, or they vote on zoning changes. So listening to constituents and saying, yeah, this makes sense, or no, this doesn't. And so there is a lot of power in city council as a whole, but as far as individual alderman goes, you have one say, you have one vote, for those bigger issues. And that's why it's really important to me, and I think to a lot of people, just based on the feedback I'm hearing, is that right now our city council doesn't really challenge the things that come through.
Okay.
I've heard people call them like the rubber stamp council and things like that, because they just go along with whatever our mayor's office brings through the pipes. And and if they ask questions, usually it's only because it's an issue in their particular ward, and they're hearing a lot about it from their constituents, and they don't want to lose their election, so they'll very passively say, well, I don't think that this is good because of this and this, but they're not really assertive about it. They don't really give, another role of aldermen is to keep their constituents informed, and I don't see that happening with a lot of aldermen. If you want community feedback, your community has to know what's coming through the pipes. And yes, there's access to information. It's complicated to get, it's time consuming, you have to follow along all these different agendas for the different committees. So it's important to me, I think, for the aldermen to keep their constituents informed, so that if community members want to speak up about things, voice their concerns, they have ample time, because once it's at city council, it's pretty much a done deal and they've made up their mind.
Okay. Okay. Well,
So
let me ask you this, because we're having these issues with the camera, but I do want to know. I've always believed that if we want government to change and get better and work more on behalf of the citizens, more citizens should get involved with politics. Um, you've gone through a process with this being your first time running for political office, correct?
correct.
All right. If you would kind of share with the public a little bit of that process, because folks may be interested, but they don't know what
Yeah.
you have to do, to run for office. So if you would, please share.
So it is a very overwhelming process. It seems a lot more complicated than it needs to be, and I'm pretty sure that's by design. The state of Illinois comes out with, every time an election is coming up, preceding the election, they come up with a candidate's guide. And so it gives you all the information about what you need to run. It asks question, or it gives you information like, if you're running for this seat, you need this many signatures, because you have to get signatures to get on the ballot. It says you have to submit this paperwork, you have to submit that paperwork. It gives information about, just all kinds of things, and some of it is necessary, and some of it you're just like, I don't know what is happening here. And so when I read through that guide, I can't even tell you how many times. um and it's like, even for the petitions, okay, how many signatures do you need on your petition? Well, you have to do some math, and you have to do some digging, because you have to know how many people cast ballots in the last election for that same seat,
Oh,
which, if you're running for something like mayor or at large, or something that covers multiple counties, you have to look at all these different counties' ballots cast. You can't just look at one place. It's like, we have 4 counties in Aurora. So depending on the seat, you may have to look into 4 counties' ballots. Once you know the total of ballots cast for that seat, the last election, you have to do some math. So you have to figure out what is 5% of that amount. And then, so you have to have a minimum of that 5%, and at a maximum 8%. Um, your signatures have to be from only people who are within your district, whether it's the whole city, if you're running for alderman at large or mayor, you're running for alderman, you have to only get signatures from your ward. The people signing your petition have to be registered voters. Because otherwise the signatures can get contested. So it's a whole process. Then once you get all of your signatures, you have to file a candidacy oath, or I think it's called. Put it all together and you have to secure it. I learned or heard that you can't just staple it because that's not considered secure, because if people shake the heck out of those papers, they could go flying. And so that's not technically secured. So you have to like hole punch, binder clip, something. Like you have to make sure it's secure to some weird standard that it seems unclear. And then you turn it into the city clerk. Oh, also, rewind. You also have to file a paper of economic interest with the Kane County office, and then maybe other counties if your office is covering other counties. So you put all that together, you submit it to Downtown Aurora's city clerk. They will then give people until a certain date to object to your petitions. People could object to your petitions based on thinking that someone's not a registered voter, their signature doesn't match what's in the voter registry, you didn't secure your papers in a way that makes them really secure, you used whiteout on your papers. I mean, there's a whole bunch of things that can go wrong. If someone files an objection, then it goes part of this election board, and then that election board decides if you can stay on the ballot or if they're gonna kick you off the ballot. And the thing with that is, let me see if I can turn my. Can you see me?
I can see you. I can
Okay,
see you.
there we go. I'm like, my phone is getting so dark. I purposely didn't do this in my house because my upstairs neighbor's dog barks a
Oh
lot,
wow.
and I'm like,
Okay.
let me not do that.
That's all good.
So anyway, um, so then, they if somebody objects to your petitions and it goes before this electoral board, well, guess who's on this electoral board to decide? So in my case, let's say somebody objects to my petitions. Okay, well, the electoral board, I think that's what they're called. The chair is Richard Irvin, our mayor.
Mm-hmm.
The
Mm-hmm.
second person is our city clerk, who works for the city, who reports to the mayor. And then the third is the longest standing alderman, which I believe is Seville. However, in the case of it being a seat that person is running for, it goes to the next person, which I believe is
Okay.
Shakita Hart Burns. So I have been very vocal against our city council. I don't know what my odds would be. I'm pretty
Right.
sure that it's not looking so good if those three individuals are the ones that get to decide if an objection is legitimate or frivolous.
Okay. Okay.
So
I
right
see.
there, we're looking at inequity. Right there, we're looking at inequity in process.
Yes, we are.
Another thing I've been thinking about as far as inequity in processes, what about if people have mobility issues? What if somebody has like a physical disability that makes it impossible for them to go knocking door to door to get signatures?
Good point.
I mean, that's a huge barrier. I tried to look and see if there's organizations that help with that, like nonpartisan groups that help people go door to door for candidates who have a physical disability. I haven't been able to find anything. So it would be nice if people could just do it online, the same way that they could verify their identity to update their voter registration by putting in their driver's license number or ID number. Why can't they just cast, a signature on a ballot that way? So
Right. Right.
anyway, so that's the actual paperwork process. Then there's like all these campaign donation laws where it's like, okay, if you get more than $5,000 in donations, you need to create a committee and you need to register it with the state of Illinois, and you
Oh
need to
wow.
submit a paper that's called a D5 that shows that you are incorporating as a committee, and then your donations are registered or reported, have to be reported to the state of Illinois. So there's this website you can go to if you're ever curious to know who donates to a calendar. Just Google Illinois Sunshine, and you could look up anybody who's donated to any candidates,
Oh,
assuming they
wow.
have a committee set up because they've accepted $5,000 or more in donations.
Okay, okay, okay.
So it's a whole situation. Oh, and here's my personal favorite because I almost dropped the ball on this one.
Uh-oh, okay.
So I read in the fine print. It's not really fine print, but there's so much content in this packet. It's like mind blowing. So it said if someone owes money to the city of Aurora, you cannot take an oath of office. So that made me think. I'm like, oh crap, do I owe
A
any
parking
old parking
ticket,
tickets?
a old library fee or something. Wow,
Yeah.
okay, okay.
So I took my behind to to City Hall and went to the little pay window, and I'm like, "Hi, could you tell me if I owe any money to the city?" Because I do remember, like, back when Culture Stock was open next to the Paramount, I always was down there, and I was always parking down there. And I can't even tell you, I probably got quite a few little parking tickets because if I got sidetracked with an event or with customers or something and I didn't move my car, then I'm in trouble because it's like the max parking was like 3 or 6 hours, but there were some days that I was down there for 12 hours at a time,
Sure.
10 hours at a time.
Mm-hmm.
And so yeah, I could only remember to move my car so many times in a day when I'm there so long. And sure enough, I had outstanding parking tickets.
Wow,
So
okay.
I'm sure
Okay.
somebody in City Hall was like, haha, she's gonna forget about
Oh,
this
you
and
know
that's
it.
gonna
You
screw
know it.
her. But I
Got that
paid
take.
it.
There you go. There you go. Got it taken care of.
Yeah.
There it is.
Yep.
That's what's up. You know what, Nicole? Let me open up the phone lines. Anybody would like to call in, have a chat with candidate Nicole Mullins. That number will be 708-414-0849. Again, that's 708-414-0849. I do have one last question I'd like to ask you.
Okay.
Given the way we see local government often run and not work on behalf of the citizens, how important is civic education to the average citizen, to the average, you know, person, and to understand, and why should they really consider running for office and playing a more active role in local politics?
Well, civic engagement and civic education is so important because I have seen, and just from firsthand experience, there's there was a lot of things that I was unaware of before, and I'm sure there's a lot of things I'm unaware of still. For example, a lot of people don't even know what a ward is. And if they don't know what a ward is, a lot of people also don't know what ward they live in. They don't know what a precinct is. They don't know what, a lot of these different things are. And so if you don't know what they are, how can you pay attention to what they're doing,
Right,
what they're supposed to be doing,
right.
and how to hold people accountable? Never mind running for office yourself. And so one of the things that the Aurora Grassroots Alliance has worked on in the past and is continuing to put efforts into, also groups like Indivisible Aurora is another one that's great for this,
Okay,
is providing the community with education and the tools they need to be more civically engaged. I think
okay.
a lot of people are afraid to ask questions because it's kind of like they don't want to be shamed into, oh, you didn't know that, oh, you don't know where you're supposed to
Right,
go to vote, oh,
right,
you don't know how
right.
to register to vote. Like there's a lot of judgment there that I think is hindering the community's ability to get more civically engaged. So I think it's 100% important. I think the people that are in power would prefer that we continue to be ignorant to things because that's how they keep getting away with things. If people don't know that you could go look up and see who's getting campaign donations, well, then they're getting a lot of campaign donations that they probably shouldn't be, that look suspect, that the community would not know about. Like a lot of these developments coming through city council now. If you look back and see who's donating to the mayoral campaign and to some of these aldermen, it's a lot of these developers or the businesses or the business owners. So it gives the perception of pay to play. I mean, I don't know how that happens if it's not pay to play, where something is coming through city council, it gets approved, and then a developer or business owner's first thought is, you know what, let me go donate to their campaign for their election. Like,
Yeah,
I don't
yeah.
know, maybe that's me being naive and ignorant,
No, it
but to
sounds like
me in the
politics as usual to me.
yeah, it's weird. Like, my first thought would not be, you know what, let me go donate to this campaign. But that's what's happening time and time again. So if we didn't know as a community how to look up who's donating to whose campaigns, how to track it back to certain people, then we would be oblivious and we wouldn't be able to hold the city accountable. We can't trust our newspapers to do that.
No, we cannot.
Learn that the hard way.
No, we cannot.
So so it's important for people to know how the government is run, to be able to make those changes. And so, you know, it's overwhelming. Like I've said, there are tools in place. In like the Democrats of DuPage, I know had and I went to it. I asked, I'm like, do I have to be a Democrat to participate in this? And they said yes. But
Hmm.
because I voted Democrat in the last election, I guess they're like,
Okay.
okay, you could participate. But it's
Okay.
like, why are we limiting access? I mean, it makes sense because there are these entities that are preserving their party, but we need more nonpartisan groups
I agree.
doing the same work,
I agree.
because it's difficult to have access to that information. So that's also what I'm focusing on with my campaign efforts. It's not just me trying to get a seat on city council. It's not about me really at all. I am interested in making sure that running for office can be as accessible as possible. And so the only way I knew to do that is to run for office myself, go through the process myself, and kind of take people along on that journey with me to learn about what is it like circulating petitions, what worked out for me, what didn't work out for me, what's this like about getting objections. Hopefully I don't have to take you guys through that and nobody objects. But what's it like campaigning, what's it like setting up donation pages, what's it like deciding what platform to use or who to accept donations from or how to solicit donations, what do you use the donations for, a lot of things, how to participate in a debate, what do you do when you encounter this. So I kind of just want to take people along on that, because I think seeing someone go through it makes it less intimidating.
Right. Right.
Because
Right.
I am intimidated, I will not lie.
Yeah.
It is
I can
an
imagine.
intimidating process, and I'm not gonna sit up here and like try and be like, oh, I'm so confident, I've got this in the bag and you should vote for me because I'm the best person there is. I'm not interested in campaigning that way with this fake facade. It's like, this is
Right.
what you get, hopefully you like it, my intentions are good. I am, you know educated on the process, because I've put effort into educating myself on the process. And I don't mean educated like, oh, I have a college degree. I don't
Right.
think people should have to have a college degree to run to office for
Agree.
office, quite
Agree.
frankly.
Agree.
Um so that's I just want to make it clear that is not what I mean. But you do have to educate yourself on the process, because if you don't follow a lot of these rules to a T, you will be kicked out of consideration before you are even on the ballot. And we've seen people get kicked off the ballot. And we've seen people kept on the ballot when they should have been kicked off the ballot,
Right.
depending on who you rub elbows with and who wants you in those seats of power. So I do encourage more people to get involved. I do encourage people to follow my social media. not even if you don't live in the 6th ward, and even if you don't want to vote for me, that's okay if you like somebody else. I think it's great that we have so many candidates running for the 6th ward. I mean, if you can't find somebody that you're excited about out of 6 people, well then guess what? Next time you run.
There you go. There you go. That's the answer. It is. That's the answer right there. That's the answer right there.
Yeah.
You know, I'm gonna tell you, with us continuing to having video issues on my end, I'm glad you can still hear me nonetheless. I do want to thank everyone for viewing this evening. Nicole, good luck to you. You did say Wednesday is the deadline for anyone that wants to contend the signatures and everything.
Well, they have until Monday at 5 p.m., but the
Okay.
city clerk has until noon on Wednesday to notify us.
Okay. Okay. All right, everybody. Get your asses out there and vote. Vote for my girl Nicole. She's a strong one. She's a real one. And I appreciate you so much for coming on to the show and sharing with the public all the political education we got today. And I think you'll do well, my dear.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for having me.
No problem. And again, where can everyone find information about your candidacy and your webpage and everything? Share that one more time for us.
So I'm on Facebook and Instagram right now. The handles are either facebook.com/Mullins for Aurora, and that's MULLINSFORAURORA. And same thing with Instagram.com/Mullins for Aurora. I'm working on a YouTube page so that way I can link all the videos for people who are not on social media, because again, it's about accessibility.
Right.
The videos of different things. And then also, I will have a website up. I'm working on it now. And so hopefully, also, I didn't want to do things too premature, because if somebody objects to my ballots and they're like, no, it's kind of like, okay,
Right. I
got
hear
this
you.
nice website for nothing.
I hear you.
So anyway, but yeah, so I'm on Facebook and Instagram. I will have a YouTube page up, and yeah, so give them a follow if you are interested in learning more about how to run for office, or if you are living in the 6th ward and you want to support my campaign.
All right. All right.